of the race. Overall, an update on the pro category. Sarah, into the pits. I think we're going to get a word with Rubens Barrichello. Over to you, Gert. Not sure whether he's ready yet, but when you're ready, we'll come back to you. Okay, are you there? Ready?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
I'm here with Rubens Barrichello. Rubens, you've done all of your driving here at Le Mans. Give us a word on how it was.
Well, it was most of it was fun. So many changes. It's incredible how much you go through during the night. But I thought, to be honest with you, the morning session when it was like 6 o'clock that the sun was coming up, that was the hardest because you can see the track with the sun right on your face. But it was a great experience. I looked tired for sure, but it was a great experience.
You say the morning was the most difficult one, but how was it during the night, especially with the speed difference with the GT cars as well?
That you learn. Obviously, there are some situations with the GT cars. Sometimes they are fighting amongst themselves. So when you get close, it's almost like they don't want you to get in the middle. They want you to overtake on the straight, but it was a learning curve all the way through. I'm proud of having achieved what we have achieved. We didn't have a very competitive package and a competitive situation, but out of that, I pushed everything I could for the whole time.
You have just done the same mileage as a full season of Formula One in 24 hours. How does that feel?
That's I mean, not just news to me, but makes me feel better because my body's aching. So I said, oh, okay, no. If I done the whole season, I deserve a week of rest.
Our commentator just asked me, are you feeling old now? Alan McNish just asked me to ask you if you are feeling old.
Alan is much older than me, so no, I'm okay. I'm okay. Actually, it was always a dream to do Le Mans. I hope I can do more and hopefully on a more competitive situation. But all in all, I was very happy. Every time I was in the car, I was flat out. So I couldn't have asked for more. So thanks, Alan, for asking.
One final question. Will we see you back?
Well, it's there's always an open mind for everything. It was fun. And when it's fun, you get back.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, Rubens, the thing about him is that he's got so much passion and enjoyment just for driving cars and loves it. Did the Daytona 24 Hours at the beginning of the season, and it's for him, it's the enjoyment of the events, the enthusiasm. It's like he's 12 years old again, and I think he'll never actually age in reality.
This is the leader of GT Pro, car 63. Jordan Taylor's on board. The 97 car, which was leading, which is the Aston Martin, that came in. It had a full service. Johnny Adam now aboard the 97 Aston Martin. And Johnny Adam take that car to the finish. 53 seconds away, but there's still pit stops to do.
The thing about the pit stops to do is they've all got pit stops to do, and the thing is going to be how much fuel they have to put in as a splash. So they're all going to have to come in for the final one, and will it be, 3 laps, 5 laps? Can anybody get rid of that final pit stop? That is going to be the absolute key of it. And right now, the one that really looks like it is the Aston Martin of Johnny Adam that has just now pitted. He's got the most chance.
Interesting that Sarah only single stinted there, so that looked like Sarah into the end, but Sarah's done a single and then Adam into the end, so it does look from time point of view like they will do it. It's going to be on fresh air at the end, but they will, I think, do it.
Yeah, fresh air is fine as long as you cross the line.
That's it, it can run out in the pit road when you're being pushed down to the podium, can't it?
Yeah, at the moment, and the other side of it, just saw the Porsche blasting through, still in second place, 2 minutes 57 seconds behind the race leader.
Yeah, I mean, the Ferrari of Davide Rigon is absolutely, definitely going to need a splash. And in my mind, the number 91 Porsche with Fred Machiavicchi on board is absolutely going to need a Porsche, a splash.
Yeah, well, when we say splash, it's whether it's going to be a sort of 3, 5, 7 or longer lap splash, and it's all done in time.
I want to ask Lena a question that she's going to hate me for. The guys have minimum fuel times in the GTE Pro class. They have to fill, if they're doing a full fill for 35 seconds, you're probably going to need the rule book. Are they allowed to just splash, or do they have to be connected for 35 seconds? Because there's a proximity sensor on the cars, and my understanding is if you're stopping for fuel, you have to take the 35. We'll get Lena on the rule book, I think.
Well, then there's no reason in that respect to do anything. We certainly wouldn't put the full fuel in, because the fuel is weight, and so if you do have to, then and it's a rule that, to be honest with you, I don't know personally.
Absolutely, it's a new rule for this year that they've tried to balance the refueling.
I think
times.
it'll be for full refueling.
I think it will, but
not
we should
for partial refueling.
Check that wording, because it's been another one of these strange areas this year that's been discussed a lot. And we had a few things that we were working on going into the race on Saturday morning like this.
The suggestions I've got are that it's only for refueling, as in full fills, as opposed to partial fills, which this is going to be, and this comes down to the strategy side of it. But in terms of that, then Johnny Adams there in second, Machiavicchi is 7 seconds behind him in third, and then Tinknell in fourth. Nelson Piquet here on that we can see, he's still in fourth overall, third in category, but 57 seconds behind the Alpine of Negrão, which is a little bit further up the road. Both of them, and also Timo Bernard, the leader in LMP1, still behind Thomas Laurent in the Jota Oreca.
But he's now taking 12 seconds a lap out of Thomas Laurent. And Laurent is going to owe us 2 stops.
It's a bit wild, wasn't it? It was just the 46 car. This is the one that was beached in the gravel trap, which is now obviously out.
Coming to, that's Thomas Laurent there, the race leader, coming past the Ford. Sorry, it's not the race leader, that's the sister car, that's Alex Brundle that's in that car. And Alex was very, very quick at the beginning of this stint.
Alex feels this place owes him something, I know that much. You know, he came here 2 years ago and drove the wheels off a Ligier. The Nissan entered Ligier at the time and lost the race because of a £2 spark plug. Finished the race on 5 cylinders, but it was too close to stop and change the plug.
Currently running 5th overall and 4th in its category. A minute and 20 away from the car in front.
Coming through Porsche. Such a quick section, a section that's caught out so many cars as well, losing the rear in that long left hand of the karting corner where they're at now. Just mainly for the GT cars have been getting some penalties for running too wide there and running off circuit, using the runoff area, which is a safety runoff area, as part of the track.
As we see Zach Brown's United Autosport team coming through, these guys are running 5th in class. Felipe Albuquerque, one of your former colleagues on board that car. Zach Brown now is he CEO of McLaren, managing director of McLaren.
Yeah, and he's also, I would say, one of the biggest racing enthusiasts I've found in terms of that he raced. He's got a team here, he's involved with McLaren, he's involved with various other bits and pieces around about the world. And there you can see the different sort of emotions. Allard Kalf on the right-hand side, who raced against Rubens Barrichello. Well, all 3 of us actually raced when we were youngsters.
Allard, a excellent commentator. If you ever want a good humoured hour, spend it with Allard.
The car we saw in the pits there was Negrão, the 35 car. That's the car that's 2nd in P2 and sitting 3rd overall at the moment in the race. And he'll be trying to hold on to that place, and the Corvette coming here with the Aston Martin behind it. This is 1st and 2nd in GTE Pro. Johnny Adam closing that gap. Now he's got himself into his rhythm. All the data screens being watched. So we're back to where we were a few laps ago. We've had a pit stop each and a driver change each, and they're now back together again. Is the 63 and the 97, the Corvette and the Aston Martin.
Last lap through, Timo Bernhard taking 10 seconds out of that Jota Sport run. Jackie Chan, DC Racing, leading LMP2 car, leading overall. So, can he do it without any slow zones and safety cars? I think the answer is maybe.
I think he needs 15 laps. If he works out on 10 a lap, he needs 15. He's got an hour and 50.
Bernhard there, 2 minutes and 30 seconds now behind Thomas Laurent, but that's the sort of situation, getting pushed a little bit wide as there's 3 or 4 cars just trying to do their own race as well, trying to sort of make their way around. And now offline on the external parts of the circuit, they're very, very dirty. There's debris, there's rubber pickup, there's also things that can puncture the tyres, and that puncture would be an instant gift to the leading car right now as he's locating them down.
Third and fourth here now, because Negrão back on the track on his outlap. Piquet Jr. hounding him down, just over a second between these two. This is second and third in P2, but more importantly right now, it's an overall podium in the main race that they are fighting for.
2 Brazilians, fantastic. They tend to sort of get their elbows out when they get into these positions.
Don't they just?
We've already seen that, haven't we? with them bumping and barring into each other.
This is going to be a tight one. It's going to be about traffic, I think, and now they've got a situation where I think Negrão is going to be able to clear that GT car, but no, he's not going to be able to clear it. He's going to struggle to do it. This is going to give Piquet the chance to try to run through Arnage and get a clean run down towards and into the slipstream towards Porsche. Still be a brave manoeuvre to do it into Porsche or through that section, but I think traffic's going to be a factor for him. He can use the traffic to try and get a slingshot.
That Rebellion team with a Pre-K, Prost and a Senna in it. Not all in the same car, but sons of. Fairly impressive driver lineup.
It was one of the things about Rebellion. They wanted to try and create that. They were probably one.
Oh,
and he's in the
hit
inside,
the inside
curve there. Very, very wide for Piquet. Hit the inside curve. That's probably about 150 miles per hour as then the car danced underneath him, lifted the front wheel up in there, and that was a great recovery. Very, very fortunate recovery, but now he's back on track. However, his tyres are pretty dirty because he's been off there. He's got to be careful coming through here, especially when he then hits the brakes up in towards the Dunlop chicane, the next corner after this, because they'll not be quite in optimum. He's got to clean that dirt off.
And that's the GT Pro battle for the first and second that they're sandwiching.
Oliver Jarvis sitting there, sort of smiling. Good day's work in reality for him. Yeah.
Piquet only clearing one of them there. He'll get the other one over the top of the hill, but he's losing time here just because it's in a little bit of a mess, just because he made that small mistake.
He hit that inside curb quite hard. He was trying to tuck it in so that he got a run through onto the back of Negrão, but he just clipped it and that lifted the front of the car up. It was just the leading edge of the curb. But at that sort of speed, then it has quite a big reaction.
Johnny Adam just losing a second or so just in that fight, pure and simply because of the traffic. Now he can start to use that Aston Martin speed advantage on the straight just to start to pull it back in.
Every hour on the hour we seem to see this same move. You know, the Corvette gets ahead and then the Aston has to drag past, and the area we've seen it drag past is this next section of the Mulsanne straight. So he's getting the run out, using lots of track on the way out, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him go around the outside into the left-hander at the second chicane on the Mulsanne. Riding on board with Patrick Pilet, Fred Machiavicki, and in third place in the GTE Pro class. He's 13 seconds behind Johnny Adam.
And the chase is on. This has been a fantastic battle between them. There you can see the 97 of Johnny Adam, the Aston Martin, going into that second chicane you're talking about. And there is Machiavecchi halfway between the first chicane and the second chicane, running on his own. He doesn't have any traffic ahead of him, and so he can concentrate on exactly that. Watch the lap time as he comes round. He's got 13 seconds to try and gain back in 1 hour 45 minutes to do it. Let's have a little bit of Machiavecchi radio.
Okay, Fred. Freitag gave Aston a 50-second present, which brought them back in the game. We're now fighting against Corvette and Aston, but we're 50 seconds behind. Copy.
Well, and I believe need a bit of fuel to get there.
So what really was he telling him? He didn't give him the big push, did he? He was just kind of, you are fighting them, but you're 50 seconds behind.
When you're in the car, you're looking out of the windscreen ahead of you, and there's the 4th position Ford as well. And so you're looking out the windscreen ahead of you, and you basically don't have an overall picture of what's happening. When people have pitted, how they've come, out with fuel, did they have a problem, did they change tyres? And you need that little bit of extra information, so it's a bit of a global view and understanding. Harry Tincknell pushing like mad. He's in 4th place right now, at a big stint in the middle of the night to drag the Ford back into contention. Currently 25 seconds behind Machiavecchi, who was the 3rd place driver we just heard from right now, and using every bit of the road and that little bit more.
Those guys in the same position in fuel terms, Tincknell and Fred Machiavecchi. Tincknell stopping 303 laps and Fred Machiavecchi 304 laps. So whatever happens, that delta is genuine, and it's going to be very little fuel mileage in it. So if we think the Aston can go to the end, they do seem to have this in their pocket, because currently the gap, I don't believe the gap that I'm seeing on the screen.
Yeah, that's then the next one down, the Ferrari, the 71 Ferrari with Rigon at the wheel. That's another lap back at the moment.
Car 13, pit stop penalty for causing a collision with car 49.
That's our car that's in 4th place overall.
10 seconds added to their next stop.
That was the incident up at the Dunlop chicane where Nelson Piquet Jr. went down the inside, didn't quite get it done, and then there was a collision of right front against the left rear. And the stewards decided that it was going to be a 10-second pit stop penalty for Nelson Piquet, the car behind. This is the replay of that incident. Piquet on the right.
Information to the pit lane. Steward's decision number 53 adds a 10-second penalty on the next pit stop of car number 13 for causing a collision. Steward's decision number 53 adds 10 seconds to the next pit stop of car number 13 for causing a collision.
Well, what Piquet really needs now to try to clear Negrão. I know he's been trying to do it for the last few laps, but he needs to gain that 10 seconds on the track, because when he does pit next time, he's going to be held for 10 seconds.
And hope that the starter motor works.
Well, yeah, the first thing the driver can do is do his part, which is on the circuit. The second thing is what the car does after that. And so he's caught back up on Negrão, but as we've seen before, it's not quite that easy.
No, both of them in the Orica chassis. The Alpine is a Orica rebranded as an Alpine. The run down now out of Mulsanne.
Alpine being a name that some people remember from rallying, and the Renault Alpine.
They've now launched the new A110, which is here and looks very, very pretty small 1.8 litre turbo sports car.
Definitely got some cues from the previous generation Alpine, there's no question. Over the back section of the car, looking nice and neat.
A couple of cars in the pro category just slotting down the pit lane, the 71 Ferrari and the 69 Ford, as this battle continues. This is for 2nd and 3rd in the LMP2 category. These two cars here at the back of the line, but also more importantly, probably right at this moment, is an overall podium position is up for grabs between one of these cars at the minute. The 35 Alpine and the 13 Orica. Negrão versus Piquet, but Piquet has a 10-second penalty to be added to his next pit stop. and Timo Bernhard in the pit lane. He is in second place. 2 minutes, the gap between the leader and the second place car as he heads down pit road. 12 seconds quicker on the lap just before this.
So he comes down into the pits, drops into his place. Angled pit stop because of the car sitting behind. You see that Ferrari sitting there, dropping into the wheels, and back to the battle for third overall. Second in the category in LMP2. Now here is a good opportunity, not necessarily because Piquet looks as if he got a good slipstream, but also the car's up ahead of him. He goes to the right hand side, that's the wrong side. He's going round the outside effectively into the Dunlop corner. He's not going to get that done, but he's lining up, and now he'll try to do a switchback and then overtake down the hill through the S's. I don't think he's going to get that momentum to be able to get it done, and Negrau's able to block him off by overtaking the Krohn Ferrari and then sliding down the inside of the Beechstein Aston Martin as well.
Bernhard from here is going to need 2 more stops to get to the end.
Someone else who has just come into pit road is the leader of the pro category as Bernhard heads out, but Taylor in the Corvette is in the pits for fuel. 1 hour, just under 1 hour 40 minutes to go.
Just looking at that with Bernhard not needing 2 full stops then. As is now, Piquet has done it. He's got a slipstream and he's this down into the first chicane. Yes, it is. So he's on the outside coming down into the first chicane, and Negrau has let him run into the corner. So now Piquet is up to second. Thomas Laurent, the race leader now, is in the pits as Timo Bernhard has just gone out. Bernhard, I don't think, has filled the car completely full. As you said, he's got 2 stops, but there, if he fills the car full, then he's got extra weight in the car. So you would then try and equalise it out so the car weight is consistent for the rest of the race.
So this is a replay of the change of position. 3rd and 4th overall, Piquet slipstreaming him and then just out-braking Negrau as they dived into the chicane there.
Negrau kind of let him run at the end. He realised it was sort of job done in that respect, and also possibility he got a radio call to say, hey, remember Piquet's got a 10-second penalty, don't take an unnecessary risk. And in reality, I think Piquet had got the job done, so therefore it was kind of fait accompli.
He's got to cut and run, hasn't he? He's got to try and gain himself 10 seconds before his next pit stop. Bernhard, as we've seen, exiting the pits, the 38 car. This is the leader. Tyres going on it. As it heads down pit road. Laurent was on board as it came in. Hoping Tung now aboard that car. He's going to take it all the way now. He's got a fresh set of tyres, full tank of fuel. Giles is on our calculations along with Lena of how many times they'll have to stop again. You reckon Bernhard twice, but so that's more. Is that still 2 or 3 now for the 38 car to go? It's touch and go.
It's going to be very close. Remember that there are only 10-lap stints in that car, just because of the fuel tank capacity of the LMP2s.
It's going to be 3 stops for the LMP2 cars, but again, not full stops.
It just depends whether they look at it by filling it up and running it to the end and hope that
they get a yellow, a safety car. Yeah.
Chances of actually reducing that final stop and getting rid of it, getting rid of the splash, is very, very minimal. I think in the GTE battle, it is definitely more of a possibility, especially from the lead Aston Martin now of Johnny Adam, who's jumped into lead of that category.
Adam is very much going to be on fumes if we don't get something, and I do wonder whether if they can build enough of a lead that they'll come in and just take 5 seconds worth of fuel, because it's going to be super, super tight.
Yeah, but 5 seconds worth of fuel is still 40 odd seconds with pit lane entry, pit lane exit, as you see a left rear only change. No, they're changing both rears. In fact, they're changing all 4 wheels. Not the most energetic stop I've seen.
This car currently sat in 23rd place overall. Heads out. We're just waiting for like sector 2 for hoping Tung to come up, just to kind of see what the gap is. It's still around. Oh, we're down to 141. So the Porsche now is 141 away from the lead. 339 laps. completed for our leading two cars. Nelson Piquet Jr. just going through the chicane, out and away. McGraw just behind, one car between them at the moment. Piquet Jr., remember, 10-second penalty to be added to the next pit stop.
Yeah, and the starter motor issues. Let's not forget to factor that in, because it has been a problem at the last 3 stops. They've certainly had to remove the rear deck, give it the wallop, and remember they got that penalty, the drive-through penalty, that would have put him way ahead of McGraw if he hadn't had that drive-through penalty, which was for starting the engine, putting the rear deck on and not stopping it before they went. So I'm intrigued to see how that whole thing plays out. I suspect the number 13 is going to have to turn around and at some point consolidate 3rd place in the class, 4th place overall. We've just seen a fastest lap of the race so far from Sebastian Buemi on board the number 8 Toyota, 3:18.6. There's nothing to chase. There's nothing to chase.
There is. The fastest lap. They have nothing else to chase. So they got the...
True, and there is a point for fastest lap in WEC. But so he's just taken that point.
That previous fastest lap was set on lap 3.
Yes.
327 laps ago was when our fastest lap was just set. So Toby has joined us. Alan, I think, has probably gone out for another cup of tea. But Toby is being in the back of the box, just kind of overlooking stuff, and he's got a purple mark with lots of writing. He's been writing lots of stuff. So we'll find out over the next little while what that is all about.
Let's get the checkered flag unfurled before any of that happens.
Oh, that's what that's for, is it? Right.
Well,
okay.
let's see what happens. But as you say, Julian, as you say, Giles, there's just a minute and a half between the leader of this race and the car in 2nd position. Ho Pin Tung at the wheel of the mighty 38, the new Coupe 38 after the open-top LMP2
Zytek,
car, the
LMP2.
Zytek that did how many Le Mans? 6, 7 or something?
That chassis, I think, did 7.
And he's owned by David Clark.
Yeah.
And you saw a picture of David Clark in the Jackie Chan DC Racing in the garage earlier, and a man who is very much part of the... I first met him in '95, part of the historic side of British motorsport, and then was part of the McLaren road car project as like a sales officer.
Exactly. And
he turned up at a VSCC Donington in a McLaren F1. I thought, that's pretty cool as a company car.
He owns the iconic Harrods-coloured McLaren GTR. Team radio car, right?
Buemi, who's just set the fastest lap.
It is the fastest lap. Is the fastest lap of the race. Okay, Seb, we need a little bit more work on the recovery from your side, otherwise the end of straight will increase. And please don't take a risk in traffic. No risk in traffic.
So they're giving Buemi the hurry up, but I don't understand why they're giving him the hurry up. He's not within risk of being less than 75% of the race distance. You know, which would be what he needs to score the World Championship points. But Alan's just come back in.
Well, he's still doing that quick lap. He's going to get the points.
Yeah, but if you look, he's now 10 laps behind the leader. And so therefore, if the leader stops in LMP1 now, they've got to get that. So he's to ensure that he stays within striking distance of the leader, just in case there's a problem with that. You don't want to be out to the point where if the leader stops and then restarts on the last lap or makes it back to the pits, you've got to keep them under pressure all the way to the end. Now, this is a race where you just never really know what's going to happen in that position. We've seen it so many times up till now. And so it keeps the concentration, keeps the pressure. A 3:18.604 by Sebastian Buemi, the fastest lap on lap 330 with an hour and a half to go.
Yeah, we saw that fastest lap on lap 3 because, of course, it was a clear run initially for Mike Conway, who was driving the number 7 at the start of this motor race some 22 and a half hours ago. My goodness me. I have never done a section of commentary of nearly 6.5 hours as I did this morning, Julian, that has gone so quickly. Unbelievable, quite staggering the drama that you saw overnight with Giles alongside you, and then Peter and I saw this morning with the Porsche, and yeah, just words elude me.
So Anthony Davison watching his driver Boemi out in the car. But yeah, when I remember the first year I came to do Le Mans, and we got given what people call the graveyard shift, midnight till 6 a.m. And I was like, yeah, that's dead good. And everyone's like, well, yeah, you can have it. Go on, have it. And we had a great night. And everyone's like, oh, no, you had all the action. And I did it again next. And then this week, when we were discussing on Thursday of who was going to do what, I was quite happy to do the midnight to 6 a.m. I didn't expect to have a 45 minutes like we did have, if I'm really honest.
Absolutely, that 45 minutes, just everything unravelled. And we're still questioning whether there was contact between the Toyota number 9 with Nick Lapierre on board and the Manor car with Simon Trummer on board. Manor telling us they don't know what happened, they don't think there was contact. But Toyota saying, we think that there was contact. Both cars going off at the same area, which finally got confirmed. So pretty confident that Lapierre did exactly what we saw yesterday with the Ferrari going into the first chicane, of backing off and moving across when he shouldn't have, and bang, the contact and out of the race.
The 13 car is on pit road. This is Piquet. 10-second added to this stop, plus whether they've got to get the back off and get the hammer out and start and sort all that. He is on pit road. He's already dropped down that place he made just a couple of laps ago. Rubens Barrichello there. He's super happy. Be great to see him back again. I think he just loves racing, doesn't he? So this is the 30. That's the 36 car. This is now the Barrichello car. That's why we've just gone on from there to there. But Piquet, right? This is the penalty being served. Now they can fuel it.
Now they can fuel it. Now they can clean the screen, check the brake discs. The Dunlop guy looks over into the top of the...
He's signalling. I think he wants a set of tyres on there.
Yeah, they're there anyway, aren't they, Julian? Now, the other question is, will they have to take the tail section, the engine cover off to get that thing started? Giles, you'd almost want to spend a little bit more time, cut a hole in the bodywork through which you could put a broom handle to whack it, rather than take the bodywork off, which is so fiddly.
Absolutely.
But of course, that's hindsight.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, the hotter it gets, the worse this problem is likely to get. They haven't had it fire for the last 4 stops, and what you didn't see was the penalty that they got for sending it, having left it running. So they've got to hit it, stop the engine, put the rear deck back on, refire the engine under its own power and go. So there's a risk every time that this could double up, and as the heat gets hotter and hotter and hotter and there's more and more heat soak, the problem's only going to get worse.
There you have the Spirit of Race at number 54.
In fact, look what they've cut a hole.
They've got a hole. There you go. That's my experience with the Series 2 Land Rover.
Do you think they were listening to us?
There you go, cut a hole and just whack it through.
Not quite
bit of access
working.
port.
Yeah, needs to hit it a bit harder than that, I think.
Has to go over the white line.
It's a very neat hole, isn't it?
It's very neat. I rather fancy that it might have been there already. It gets going finally.
No,
so that saved a little bit of time rather than fiddling around with that bodywork.
They did,
because that bodywork wasn't pre-fitted in the workshop. They needed a bit of emery paper over the joints to make it fit. Meanwhile,
our current estimation for race result will be like following. Corvette and Aston will be close to each other, fighting for the win. We are P3, 40 seconds behind, and 30 seconds in front of the Ford on P4. Do you want further updates in terms of gap or pace, or not? I want you quiet. Except if something important, don't message and don't talk too long, please, Patrick.
That's a slightly old message now, because he's into second, because this car of Harry Tincknell is in the pits. So, but they're in the fight. I mean, they believe they're in the fight. They're 17 away from Johnny Adam, who is in the lead. Magnussen will think he's got to go, and so will Harry Tincknell. That's one of each car, isn't it?
It is, but likewise, Fred Makovici, if I understood him well, and I have trouble deciphering some of those messages, thanks, mate. Don't tell me anything I don't need to know. It was a bit of a Kimi reply, wasn't it?
Absolutely, and that's very much Fred. Fred's very get it done, leave me alone. He is one of those drivers. You hear that often.
I would want to just drive that car all the time just for that noise, if I'm honest. That's maybe why he wasn't wanting the radio, because he misses out hearing all that stuff. But it just sounds fantastic. Magnussen back aboard. He was only sat out for a stint or so, wasn't he?
Magnussen only came out for a stint. Yeah, we missed that as we were going through some of the LMP stuff. So who went into that car? Taylor went into that car for one stint, and then Magnussen straight back in, lap 314.
Category-wise, just to keep you updated with that, the leader, Will Stevens, is in the pit lane now. The 84 Ferrari, the JMW Motorsport Ferrari, is on its way.
Stevens will stay on board that car, but Marco Ciocci is chasing them down. They can't rest on their laurels there.
The winners from last year in the GTE AM class, the now WeatherTech white and black Ferrari 488 GT run by Scuderia Corsa. Townsend Bell at the wheel. He's won his class here at Le Mans. He's won it at Daytona. He's won it at Sebring. He's led the Indy 500. And but it's not quite going to be his turn here this year. He'll be back.
But as we've seen with this race, never say never.
Never say never say never.
We're up to a minute. A minute is the gap between first and second now. It's coming down more and more. Every lap, every sector, it keeps dropping. It's a minute between Hoping Tung and Timo Bernhard.
12 seconds a lap was Timo Bernhard in the number 2 Porsche, faster than the LMP2 Oreca in front of him. So 12 seconds a lap. He's got a minute to make up.
Average is
do the
6 laps.
And we've got an hour and a half to go. The writing is on the wall. It's going to be so close. But hey, this is like Damon Hill at Hungary in '97. Let's not be disappointed with second.
Absolutely. You know, we've seen the shots of Ollie Jarvis sitting in the garage looking extremely happy as we see the number 91 car come down the pit road. So that's Fred, who we were hearing from a moment ago.
Second as he came into the pit lane.
The Krone Ferrari right in front of him. They clean the screen, the fuel going in on the right-hand side, clean every single part of the screen, making sure that there's no rubber, no marbles, no grass, no paper bag, no plastic bag that's drifted over into the fronts, the grille, the cooling in the front of the car, the other mechanic checking the tyre pressures, just taking a little bit of pressure out of those big, fat, sticky Michelin tyres and making sure that for the last 90 minutes, they have got the maximum amount of life in them.
Yeah.
Is it me, although there are a few rubber marks all over that car, these cars after 24 hours are actually quite clean. They're not as dirty as normal.
Doing quite a good job of keeping the sides clean and the numbers clean, which is important from a regulatory point.
What's your take on white racing cars, Toby? I think all racing cars should be white. I love white racing cars.
You see, I normally disagree with you, but I think I like the colour scheme of that 911 RSR. I'm not a white colour scheme kind of guy.
Right.
Okay, on board with the 67 car, as Giles is working out some facts and figures. Harry Tinknell in the driving seat of this through the final chicanes.
So in the GTM class, Van Toor's just got in to replace Will Stevens. So driver change there. But then looking over at the battle in Pro, we've had a change. Tinknell
was in it.
Fourth. So that's just on the flow of the stops. So as we go, but interestingly, all of them still pushing 14 lap stints. Nobody looking to the end yet and trying to spread the stops. So everybody thinking, let's maximise it and see if we get a safety car at some point in the next hour and 22 minutes before the end of the race.
Just keeping an eye on the front of this race as we focus in on the number 67 of Harry Tinknell, the front of this motor race, the overall leads. Another 10 seconds taken out of the overall lead by Timo Bernhard as the Dempsey Porsche goes over the gravel. That is Matteo Cairoli, the Italian, in the number 77. Well, his team boss, Patrick Dempsey, yes, that's Patrick Dempsey, here at Le Mans, watching how his team is progressing. Meanwhile, in GTE AM, the race continues. This is the Gulf Racing Porsche getting ever closer with, is that the Clearwater car? As we got a spinner, that's the number 65. That's the Scuderia Corsa car Who's in that one? Christina? Is
No.
she in there? No, it's Balzan. Balzan's in there.
So the higher rated driver in that car, Alessandro Balzan, when he gets in that car, normally safe pair of hands and the car absolutely fine.
He's only just come out of the pits.
Could be an issue that
He got a puncture.
he has left rear, or is it liquid?
Oh, he got hit
Oh.
by the Labra competition number 50 car.
Very similar to the incident we saw with the number 13 car while we had PK on board at the start of his stint.
Long way to go. That's 8 miles.
And it's already dragging now, isn't it?
I was listening to an interview with Christina Nielsen off air a moment ago, and Christina saying how disappointed they are with the overall performance. They expected to come here and be in the fight for the podium. So I think that's just adding fuel to the fire there. So we've got Geert down in the pits with Will Stevens, who's just got out of the class leading JMW Ferrari 488.
Okay, good. We're with you now.
Will Stevens, leader in AM. What is necessary now to hold that position?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we got a little bit unlucky in my stint with the slow zone, but we managed to get back in front of the car in second, so we're back a lap ahead, so that's a really nice margin to have, obviously, going into the last 2 stints. So we're managing it, you know, we're trying to keep the gap the same. We're not pushing too hard, we're trying to stay off curves and do everything we can just to try and bring the car home. But we're in a good position, let's just hope it continues.
Is Dries going to the end then?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gert. That was Will Stevens, their car leading the AM category, currently 27th overall. And this car, the 65 car, that's suspension damage, I think, as well as puncture. Oh, dear me.
And it's ripping the bodywork out already, Julian, as it goes down the first parts of the 3-mile-long Mulsanne straight with the 2 chicanes in the middle of it. That's going to be a very, very long in-lap. A lot of damage potentially going to be taking place to that car as the Golf Porsche. That is with Michael Wainwright, Ben Barker and Nicholas Foster, the 2 Brits and the Australian in that car this year, and part of the regular World Endurance Championship. They are chasing the Spirit of Race, no, apologies. They are chasing the Clearwater Racing car, Richard Gui, Hiroki Kato and Alvaro Parente.
Just to update at the front, the gap just under 44 seconds now as we watch this 65 car dragging itself.
Dragging it back, yeah. We're seeing that in zone 3, which I think is up at the Dunlop chicane, there is a car stopped on the right-hand side. So that's the car that Balzan made contact with, I guess.
Which is the Corvette, in theory.
The 50 Corvette, exactly, the GTE AM, not one of our GTE Pro leaders. So Philippon on board that car, who has had a rough old week, crashing the car on Wednesday night and having had a few offs during the race.
That car started from GTE AM, a pole position, but doesn't that seem a long time ago? As the number 8 Toyota comes into the garage, hour and a quarter and a bit remaining for that car that was so close here last year and yet so far to winning this Le Mans 24 Hours. This is a battle for position, 11th and 12th in class for LMP2.
Yeah, Jan Lammers, who is in the car. The racing team that is in the car, that's the car that Rubens Barrichello has just got out of, and Patrice Lafarge behind him. Now, the car behind has had a bit of a rough week. If we're talking about rough weeks with an hour and 20 minutes to go, there's a bit of rough weeks, and that car, which we thought, the 50 car that was stopped, is moving again. We've just seen it go past and to start another lap, so that's an update on that one.
So the yellow flags have been cleared. We've got a clear racetrack, 8.5 miles of pure racing around this Le Mans Circuit de la Sarthe. It is roasting hot here in the middle of France. Europe is going through a complete heat wave this week, the hottest day of the year being forecast to be over our heads. There hasn't been a cloud in the sky. People diving for shelter underneath the grandstands, trees, advertising hoardings, what you will, stocks of water being, well, going in moments, and these drivers really pushing it to the fore. The last time we sort of saw heat like this was back in 2000, but I'm always reminded of when the Mazda won here in 1991. Johnny Herbert did the last stint. He was so worn out, he fell out of the car and couldn't even get to the podium to celebrate winning the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Oh, the irony.
And there's still a chance that there's a regulation that would be triggered within this last hour, but Alan's saying that that's now gone. But there's been a lot of speculation as the week's gone on about a potential driver cap in terms of the amount of time drivers can spend in the car, but then a humidity and wind chill factor calculation got put into that yesterday to ensure that we didn't end up with drivers only being able to single stint through the race, which would probably be more exhausting for them.
We're on the 30-second gap margin between Hoping Tung and Timo Bernhard, first and second. And if you're just new to sports car racing and watching around the world of how one car is 12 seconds a lap faster, one is what we call an LMP1 car, which is so much more bigger. And in the Toyota garage,
the big boss of Toyota, Toyoda-san, here to see the progress of the company's sports car racing project and whether or not they were going to be able to win. Well, they set an absolute track record in qualifying, a 3:14.79, obliterating the absolute track record that was 2.1 seconds slower that was set a couple of years ago by Porsche. So they've done the fastest ever lap of Le Mans to take pole. But it's the race where you get the 50 points, isn't it, for the victory? And unfortunately, problems befalling three of the Toyotas. One of them's got back going again, just as the Toyota got back going again. But the Porsche had a problem earlier and has therefore got more of the 24-hour race to catch up with.
Well, and the Toyota took about nearly double the amount of time to do it, to change the parts, so changing both front corners, changing the MG UK, which is located and housed within the cockpit on these cars. So Toyota actually had to take the windscreen out to get that out, whereas on the Porsche it was a much quicker job. They got the job done, somebody said, within an hour.
Yes, they lost 18 laps and they were second last, which was 56th position, as that Scuderia Corsa Ferrari makes its way back to the pits. And as Julian pointed out, that suspension is askew.
That's it. The car we just saw in the pits there is our third place overall car, the 35 Signatec Alpine. Some tyres went on there, but still the same driver staying in that. On his outlap now, Negrão.
Okay, 26 seconds is Timo Bernhard that we're riding on board with behind the overall leader of this race. It's a gap that is decreasing to the tune of 12 seconds a lap. So in theory, in 2 laps, he's going to be up there with an hour and 13 minutes remaining.
This is quite amazing. I'm sure when it came out of the pits, this car, it was last, right
no,
at
it
the
was
back.
second last.
Second
last.
Okay, second
it was
last.
56th out of 58 runners because we'd already had 2 retirees. But you know what, Julian? I'm not going to pick flies. It was as good as last.
Yeah, and Alan McNish did say to me when I said, what is the point? He did say, because you never know. You never know what might happen. And I think, if we're honest, we didn't expect this to be happening. We thought maybe that it would be potentially somewhere in amongst it, but it's... yeah, we'll see. They're under 20 seconds, so a couple of laps, and it will be past Hoping Tung. And as I was saying before, 2 different category of cars here. One is an LMP2 car, that's the leader, and the other one is like our top spec LMP1 hybrid. So that is why the second car is catching so much quicker. It's not because the other car is not very good. We're going to go on board Team Radio with the leader.
Stay out of the slipstream of GTs. Stay out of the slipstream of GTs and other cars. We need the air to cool the car. We need the air to cool the car. Yeah, copy.
Jota Sport engineer there confirming that they've got a cooling issue. Now at this stage, it could just be rubber build-up on the radiator grills. There's every chance that at the next stop they can go in, clear it all out and get rid of that problem. But for this... Sorry, that was raid. I think you're getting that raid.
Okay, mate, all okay, we're doing good. There's a gap, 17 seconds. There's debris around the first chicane.
That's Kyle Wilson-Clark talking to Timo Bernhard about debris at the first chicane. We saw the number 8 run off there, but didn't bring anything back on to the circuit, so maybe that's more caution reacting to having seen that than anything else. But no, the Jota Sport engineer there raising concerns about engine temperatures if he runs in the draft of other cars. So you're just going to see him ducking out. And then at the next stop, I suspect you're going to see those guys go deep inside the side pods and pull out any rubber and debris that's there blocking the radiator cooling ducts.
At the end of the day, the radiator is running at what, 70, 80, nearly 90 degrees Celsius.
Probably
and
105.
That hot air, 105. So that hot air, boiling point of water,
yes,
plus, is that hot air is coming out of the back of the car in front, which is why he's saying keep out in the ambient air, which is a mere 32
degrees,
or so.
Yeah. 91.
The 91 car in, it's getting some fresh tyres.
Right, there's something strange going on with the strategy on 91.
He hasn't been out there very long, has he, Fred?
Fred pitted at 3:18, so this is them choosing, either they've had a puncture or they're choosing to correct for the end now. I think this is them correcting for the end.
So they've done a short stop now rather than a... Okay, yeah. Back, though, with the second place car at the moment. Second place car now 12 seconds. It's going to be in sight of the leader very soon as they come up towards the Porsche curves. When that helicopter gives us a big view and a big drawback, then we are going to see the Jackie Chan Racing number 38 car in the same shot for the very first time, as the GT 911 RSR Porsche goes under the bridge and away.
It's just dropped down one position because of that pit stop, but now on its outlap, and when they all filter out again, it'll be back into position. 10 seconds is the gap at the front.
The lead car is just coming over the start-finish line now. And there is the second place car just coming over the start-finish lane now. There is the leader. There is second place. They're in the same shot with 1 hour and 9 minutes to go. And that car in second place is still 10 seconds a lap faster than the car in front of it. The race is on.
So it's towards the end of the lap, isn't it, where he's going to be back with him, because he's 8.7 away. So maybe in Porsche curves, Arnage Porsche curves area, he'll be up with him.
But he's got an hour to bridge that gap, and he's got an hour not to do anything silly.
Let's catch up on board with the team radio.
Okay, team, I got the race leader straight ahead of you now. So that's 3 cars ahead.
Kyle Wilson-Clark there, very calmly delivering the message. You know, that's the team race leader ahead, a few cars ahead. Just he knows what he's got to do. He doesn't need to be told. He's just going to get on, get past him, and drive away as quickly as he can.
Well, the Kiwi pulls out past one of the GT AM cars. That gets past. That's the Proton Racing car, as they go through the first chicane using all of the road, cutting back at the last minute before the curb, but already he's on his way. Down the back section, there's your leader with the white nose, with the red sun visor. Then you got a couple of GT cars, then you got second place. How close are the LMP2 guys with the Jackie Chan Racing team? How close are they to win Le Mans and prove the biggest upset since the history of Le Mans started in 1923? But having said that, my word, ladies and gentlemen, what a fight back that the Porsche crew have done. They're happy with how their race is done, and they cannot believe how their race has unfolded in the last 20 hours or so. For Porsche, on course to pass that LMP2 car before the before Indianapolis, as we're coming down with over an hour to go. There is first, there is second place, and the Porsche is going to go through, and Porsche lead Le Mans. The number 2 car, it was 56th, second last, at 4 hours into the race, and here we are at 23 hours into the race, and it retakes the lead. The Jackie Chan Racing guys look on and say, hey, we've lost the lead, but hey, we're on the podium.
And what a story, though. What a story just generally for motor racing, and it's just a big, big news story.
It's effectively the spirit of Le Mans. Never give up, grit, determination, always fight back, because that's the one thing about this race. Over 24 hours, or roughly a season of Formula One in a day, then you have to come through all the adversity. You don't know what it's going to be. You try to prepare for it. You're just never sure what is going to be thrown at you. When it does, you've got to just adapt and get on with it. Come back again. And this is a perfect example to all the young racing drivers out there, that you just never get up till the end. But we are not at the end yet.
I was just about to say, there's an hour and 6 minutes. I'm not sure how much more drama can be slotted into it, but we only have to go back 12 months. And in the final 3 minutes, we had the biggest news story of Le Mans racing, wasn't it?
Of the motorsport year, arguably, Julian.
Generation, I think, potentially, not just the year. So, right. So we'll just watch that. That gap will extend. That is just the way it will be. That's kind of signed, sealed and delivered, barring any issues. We've got battles going on, though, between the pro categories. Ho-Ping Tung is quite confident and comfortable way in his position in his category, which is now what they'll focus on. So the big battle in the race is the GTE Pro category. That is what the big battle is. Johnny Adam having a nice lead at the moment because he hasn't been into the pits when others around him have.
So the number 2 Porsche hits the front of this motor race after the number 1 Porsche. It had the race in its pocket, but 2-3 hours ago, it hit a major engine problem and it failed to get back to the pits. So it is the number 2 Porsche that heads this motor race now by 7 seconds ahead of the LMP2. That is the Jackie Chan Racing Team Squad car in second place, and the number 35, which is the Signatech Alpine, the team that won LMP2 here 12 months ago. Of course, overshadowed after the drama at the front of the race with the Toyota. Let us not forget, there are 4 classes racing here at Le Mans. LMP1, LMP2, GT Pro, GTM.
Yeah, and GTE Pro race leader Johnny Adam has just come into the pits with the Aston Martin, and they should have one more stop after this. 1 hour and 4 minutes. They can't do that on 1 tank of fuel, so they will have a splash, and that could be a real deciding factor in terms of this extra pit stop that they're going to have to take right now. So Adam in the pits refueling as we look at Anthony Davidson, and Anthony Davidson there, what might have been another year, slips back, and you can see sigh. Currently 9th place overall, but second in the category, and that's his car, means that he'll extend his lead in the World Championship, and ultimately his focus now has to be on November and potentially a second World Championship. There's the 97, that's the race leader. That was the race leader, because now race leader has gone through and it's Jan Magnussen in the Corvette.
So Johnny Adam aboard the car still as they go out, but Magnussen is up the road, 14 of 15 seconds. It's as Adam will go through the first split, we'll see what that gap actually is. Harry Tincknell a couple of minutes behind. So there is the leader. He's out onto the Mulsanne straight.
And that, then 15, 16 seconds behind is Johnny Adam, the Scot. Wheels going on the number 31 in the LMP2 class.
It is Senna aboard it. Cannell is in there when he came in, but Senna's now in that car.
Now they're way down the order in 23rd overall. They're outside the top 10 in the LMP2 class.
Now that problem with the shifting, they lost the flat shift and wheel speed sensor problem and things like that. So they've had a few dramas, but they were right in the mix at the front of the field when they were, well, basically in the night when we were watching them battling through. The 97 car, this is Johnny Adam, the Aston Martin, 16.5 seconds now he's gone through the first split. Ho-Ping Tung on pit road for another stop.
Here he comes, the car in second place overall. Still a heroic effort. Talk about David and Goliath. And David still in this race but it's Hopin Tung who is the driver at the moment. Take it steady, bang on target, on the lollipop. Windscreen wiper up. Dunlop tyre technician just looks at those tyres, makes sure that they're okay. He's going to then signal to the chief engineer on the pit wall behind our camera whether or not those tyres need to be replaced. The tyres are already at the forefront of the garage, just in case they need to go on the car. The fuel is going in. The fuel nozzle will come off in a moment's time. The lollipop is start, and he's on his way. All according to plan. A podium is now an hour and a minute away, potentially, for those guys.
Yeah, they've certainly delivered for all three of the drivers. Thomas Laurent, young, inexperienced in the big picture of things, as we see. Then he comes out of the pits, and that's the Krone Racing Ferrari, just sort of slidey white, getting onto the dirt and managing to recover the situation. But you know, coming back to these guys, three drivers, very, very different experience levels, very different ways of working. But Hopin Tung is taking it to the end of the race. Oliver Jarvis delivered the start, and in the middle, I have to say, Thomas Laurent did a fantastic job as well.
We've had 2 rounds of the World Endurance Championship already, Silverstone and Spa, and the Jackie Chan Racing squad with Tung, Jarvis and Laurent won at Silverstone. You'll remember that, Alan, and they were on the podium at Spa, and here they are at the big race, on course for another podium. Julian.
Earl Bamber getting himself ready to take over from Timo Bernhard. Bernhard only done a couple of stints in there, so they're obviously going to give it the final hour to Earl Bamber, just getting himself sorted, getting himself relaxed, and enjoying the last hour or so. So this is the lead car, 56th. That's where it was after 4 hours.
It was 56th out of 58 runners, and the lead car going round the outside on the blast down to the Porsche curves, building speed to 190, nearly 200 miles an hour on a public road, let us not forget. Then they peel off to the right-hand side. Alan was explaining it earlier, holding it in 6th gear. Just look at the downforce, eye-watering technology and speed.
24 cars stopped to do the pit lane. That's the Orica, the Gibson. It's a Manor Racing car. Stopped right in the middle of the pit lane there. You can see the marshals running down. Jean-Eric Verne in that car. I don't know what's actually happened to it, trying to push it out of the way into a safer place.
I'm not sure if